Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Chris Macias. I am the director of the Dream Center at the University of Utah, and today we are partnering with DELL Technologies to talk about building your brand, specifically talking about LinkedIn and and give you more information about how to build your resume and build yourself. So we have a couple of guests joining us today who will be providing this presentation. It's Sarah and Elisa from DELL, but first of all, I'd also like to introduce you to Gustavo, aka Guga. He is the student leader at the Dream Center, who will also be facilitating questions and things afterwards once this is posted. This is being recorded. We will embed it into our website for you to view later on as well. But welcome today. So I'll turn it over to DELL. Thank you very much for being here today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris and Guga. So we'll go ahead and move forward with Sarah.
Perfect. Hey, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that introduction. So I'm going to give a little bit of information about myself. My name's Sarah Vigil, and I graduated from Kearns High here in Utah, where I actually met Chris. And I also graduated from the University of Utah in 2008. I worked on campus there as a senior peer advisor. I was also part of the TRIO program there, and also as an orientation leader on campus while I attended the University of Utah. My passion came from helping and being involved with students of color on campus and just finding that connection. Moving on from there, after receiving my undergraduate degree, I went on to DeVry University, where I became the Associate Director of Career Services. And here I had the opportunity for 5 years to help students find meaningful employment within their degree fields and to work on their resumes and just helping them with informational interviews. So I got a good background in helping with that. And then while I was at that university, I was going to school for my Master's of HR, or Master's of Human Resources, where I obtained that in 2014 and have been working with DELL Technologies for the last 4 years. I was recently promoted to the Regional Senior Human Resource Advisor, where I cover the Mountain West region and work with all of our leaders on site. One of my favorite things about working at DELL is the employee resource groups. I'm part of our Latino Connection group and our Gen Next employee resource group. I just love being able to be part of things in the community and care, about these different groups that I get to be a part of. So that's just a little bit about myself. And now I'll turn the time over to Elisa.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. So my name is Elisa Da Silva. I've been with DELL Technologies for almost 8 years now. I began my career with them through customer service. Then I moved into managing Northeastern data centers, and then moving on to managing the Latin America customers. Through that, I was able to sharpen my Spanish and my Portuguese skills, which has been so great. I am also a recipient of the DACA program. I've had it ever since it's been launched, and I'm very appreciative of this program and what it's been able to do for me and for others like me. So really great stuff. So one of my favorite things about DELL is that they truly want your every team member to succeed. They want to give you the tools to succeed as well. So like myself, I didn't come from the tech background, but they were able to give me certifications, trainings, and the certifications that I've passed are industry known as well. So if for any reason I were to leave DELL, regardless, DELL made sure that I was prepared for this industry, which is great. All right, perfect. And then it looks like we have just one more person joining us today. Louisa, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Perfect.
Do I have to introduce myself or anything?
Yeah, I would like to hear about you.
But yeah, I'm the graduate assistant at the Dream Center, and I am majoring in social work. So I'm working on my master's in social work right now. I'm also a DACA recipient myself, so I understand kind of like the struggles that undocumented students have to face in higher education and just in life in general. And so yeah, I enjoy just helping others navigate the same things that I had to navigate when I was an undergrad.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and move forward. And as we go through this deck, if you have any questions, feel free to just go off mute, or if you like, you can go ahead and post them on chat. We'll keep an eye out for those as well.
Sounds great.
Perfect. Okay, I'll turn this over to you, Sarah.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to talk a little about your personal brand. So in simple terms, you know, your personal brand is what makes you you. It's your influence over others and their perceptions, not only what you say, but everything you do or everything you don't do. So there's a quote here by Dan Schwabel that says it all. It says, it's what you do that makes you who you are, and how you project that to others that makes you memorable. As leaders, as students, you know, as people in the community, we all want to be memorable. And so it's up to you to define who you are and to project that. So that's a little bit about like what the personal brand is. I'm going to go to the next slide. So, you know, this question here, one of the more common questions that comes up around personal branding is, you know, are your professional and personal brands the same? And, you know, the answer here we have is yes. As we all know, in order to have the most success and productivity in your life, you may need to blend both career and personal objectives. And sometimes, you know, this is hard for people, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit as we kind of go along, but your values and beliefs should be a consistent thread between who you are at work and who you are at home. And companies and potential employers are more and more interested in who you are as a person. So I work in HR with DELL Technologies. I know that we have a talent acquisition team that works on looking at, you know, people's backgrounds. And so I think more and more social media is linked to who we are. I think sometimes that's hard, right? You know, because I hear sometimes from people say like, I don't want to mix my personal social accounts with my professional accounts. But really, who are we kidding? It's social media, and it'll be seen. and anyways, you really are one person, and ultimately your values and beliefs should be, you know, consistent across who you are on the job, as I mentioned, with your friends, and who you are at home. So, you know, I think, you know, whether that's potential business partners, future managers, other people, they want to know just about they want to know more about you, just not only as a professional, but who you are as a person. And in working in HR, you know, we really truly care about our people, because at any job, whatever, if you work for DELL Technologies or if you work for any company, you know, the core of any company really is the people. And, you know, the people are what make an organization. And, you know, obviously the skill sets you bring are important, but true to that is the core. So I'm just going to share an example. I worked with a company, you know, not listed, where I had conflicting values with their values. It didn't align. It didn't feel right to who I was. It just didn't seem like it was the right fit. And so I had to look for something where my values and my beliefs were aligned to the organization. I think it's okay to have differing views, but when it becomes to a point where it doesn't feel, you know, that seems like the fit, I think that you need to find something that works for you. So my question, you know, if you want to come off mute or if you want to chat about it, you know, with these two things, your personal and your professional and personal brand being the same, you know, what are your thoughts on this, or do you have any concerns on this as a undergraduate or graduate student?
All right, looks like we have a comment here.
Yeah, so Kumari is saying, you know, that they left their last employer because of this reason of the conflicting beliefs. And I think that's good to know, like, what makes sense for you. So thank you for sharing that. What are your thoughts though on the idea of your personal brand and professional brand being the same? How do people feel about that?
Well, for me personally, I do try to differentiate the two and try to have separate online lives, if you will. But at the same time, I realize there's a lot of overlap. And so whenever I post something or whenever I'm building my social media aesthetic, if you will, I do keep in mind my professional life and what that might mean. And sometimes things can be interpreted because regardless of where I go or what I do, my personal life, my professional life is going to show. I'm the director of the Dream Center, even if I'm posting on my personal Facebook page, for example. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I still try to keep that in mind.
No, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. And I think for me as well, I do similar, you know, or because I'm in HR and my role is HR and that, you know, I do have my own, some of my social media accounts that are personal, right? But I still think my values and my beliefs still align there, whether it's my personal or my professional kind of scenario. So I think that's a really good insight that you shared. And I think that's going to be something, you know, as undergraduate students and graduate students, you guys have to think about, you know, with technology and the way that technology is being used more and more, you know, using, because we have so many different platforms, you know, LinkedIn and Facebook and, you know, Snapchat. There's just so many different other forms of, so like social media now, that we kind of have to, you know, be mindful of that, whether it's our personal brand or our professional brand, and how that kind of merges together. So good insight. Thank you. All right, if we can go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about networking. And have you guys heard the saying, it's not who you know, but who knows you? And, you know, I've heard the saying, like, it's who you know, you know, prior, but I've never heard it say it's who knows you. So that's kind of new to me as I've kind of gone through some training, but I think it's relevant and true, because we may know somebody from an interaction that we may have seen them from somewhere or being involved in the community. So you may know of them, but they may not know you. And I think that's the part is what we're looking at and why networking is so important. So there's a couple things here as students to kind of look at. So there's networking offline. You know, in order to really have a brand, you need a network. And there are many ways to, you know, both in the traditional offline and online sense. So for offline at Dell, as I was mentioning, within our organization, we have employee resource groups. That's a way to kind of network across business units and get involved with other people. Community and service events that, you know, you can do. That goes also for students. Like, I know for you all, there's opportunities to do things like college programs. You know, being part of the Dream Center, that's a networking opportunity there. Those types of things that if you can get involved on campus with those things that you are passionate about, I think that's really kind of where you build that networking. And now, and as we have a little side note here, networking will help guide you during school, but also after school. I think that's important, right? Is because when you're in school, you're building those connections with your professors, with those other students, with other staff that's on site, and building those connections are key so that they can keep you in mind. So let's say Chris has an opportunity that comes up that he can say, oh yeah, I know these individuals, they might be a really good fit for this. So I think, you know, networking is important because it opens up opportunities for you. And in the online sense, you know, we're talking here today about LinkedIn, how to use that. And Elise is going to go over a good amount of information on that. But there's some things now that you can do. There's influencers in the community that you can follow, learn from them, and create those relationships. A lot of them have interactions through, you know, Instagram or whatever, you know, LinkedIn, whatever kind of social media platform that they're using. And then also online, you can be involved with things in the community, with groups, forums, any of the college programs that you might have. You know, we're in these unprecedented times right now where, you know, where an event on campus isn't the same as it was before. So how do you use this online opportunity and virtual space to kind of navigate and still be kind of relevant with that? So I think those are things to look at and consider as you think about networking. It's not the same as it used to be just because of kind of things that are happening, but what can you be doing still so that when, you know, whatever the new norm looks like, you're prepared and positioned in a good way to help you look for maybe an internship or maybe a job opportunity. So I think just think about those things. And then the other piece I want to mention is, have any of you on the call ever had a mentor or been a mentor? And if you have, you know, tell me what was the value to you. Anybody?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the former director Alonso, he was actually my mentor when I was like in high school. So him and other students that were at the U were like my mentors. They helped me like apply for the U. They helped me look for scholarships. They helped me with my personal statement and resume, and just kind of like they also helped me like get involved with the community because they said that I was gonna have to do that because obviously college is more than just like the academics. It's like you have to be super involved, especially if you want to get scholarships. So like, yeah, I feel like they really influenced like how I went about my education and just like my journey. And I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for their guidance. So it's definitely really helpful.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's amazing that you had those mentors, but also sound like you learned a lot from them. For me too. So for me, I was a first generation college student at the University of Utah, and I had no idea. My parents never gone to school before me. Nobody in my family had. I had no idea what I was going to be doing on campus. And it really was that finding a mentor and networking piece that helped me find connections on campus that made me feel like I was part of something bigger, and that gave me, you know, purpose and kind of helped guide me. And so I definitely have a soft heart and passion for, you know, giving back in the community where I can, but also just so where I can mentor somebody. But also I appreciate being a mentee to those people that helped me along the way as well. So thank you, Luisa. I appreciate that. That's good insight. I think too, the one thing I want to mention here is having a mentor. You know, sometimes it's good to find them because, you know, as you mentioned, they can help you. But also when you choose a mentor, consider your field of interest and maybe areas of development. Like, are there some areas that you want to work on? You know, does somebody maybe that's in your networking circle have that interest, or they're in that field? Can you work with them? And then the last thing I think is relationships need to be a two-way. It's a give and get. And so as a mentee, sometimes, you know, it can't just be a one way. You kind of have to go through and, you know, what are you learning? Can you share and provide feedback? And sometimes the mentors learn from you. You know, it's not just you learning from them. And oftentimes as you build that relationship and rapport over time, it becomes where you're both learning from each other. So I think that that's important to kind of take note of. All right, so if we can go to the next slide. So I'm gonna ask 3 questions here. And we're gonna start out with, what does your personal brand mean to you? And why, and we'll just kind of merge these 2 questions together. And why do you think your personal brand is important? So what does it mean to you? And why do you think the personal brand is important? Anybody want to share?
So I'll go ahead and get started. So I think the personal brand, something that you need to keep in mind is that it's something that will continue to change. So as you learn more, as you grow, as you just go through experiences in life, your personal brand will change, although your core values will stay the same. And because of that, it's so important for you to know what that is, have it defined. It'll help guide you through your personal life, through your career. And it's basically just making sure that you're keeping those cores aligned with your everyday life as well. So I think that's why it's so important.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great. So I think you nailed it with talking about that. But how many people here, you know, use social media to post your thoughts or ideas? And if you don't want to come off mute, you don't have to, you can kind of put it in chat and just say like, yeah, I do. But how many people just on the call, you know, do you use social media in any capacity to post your thoughts or ideas?
I would like to say yes. I think I'm always posting thoughts. In fact, I think social media is made so that they encourage you to do that. Even if you just think about Facebook, for example, when you want to post something, it says what's on your mind, right? So right away, they already want you to start thinking and putting things down. Of course, the more content you put on, the better for the company as a whole, but for yourself as well, just encourage you to start thinking about things. It's not just about sharing, but it's about creating your own content too.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And I do the same, Chris. I think, you know, right, exactly. You kind of, when you said, it asked, you know, like, what are your, I think what, I can't remember the exact question, but what are your thoughts, or how are you feeling, or what are you doing? I can't remember. There's even like aspects that ask like where you're at and those types of things. So I think your personal brand, you know, if I posted that I was at, I don't know, let's say Gardner Village with my 2 little girls, like that gives, you know, gives people a perception of like, okay, I'm a mother with kids, you know. So I think we all have kind of some of those things as we build our personal brand or our aesthetic, as you mentioned, like when we're posting. And that also goes to with our thoughts and our, you know, what we're putting on there. So that's good point. So we wanted to share with you guys some personal brand guidelines. There's 1 through 8, and obviously these are just guidelines to use, but one is, you know, figure out who you are, you know, what are your values, you know, what do you believe in, your core values, as Elisa was mentioning. I think that's kind of the key, and it's okay to change, right? When you're in your undergraduate years. I remember I went to school originally for pre-med, that was my undergrad, and then I ended up changing it, you know, halfway through, figuring out like, hey, I was going to be a dentist and I like to talk and work with people, and I'm like, I can't really do that in this role. It just didn't it didn't fit with what I wanted to do, so I had to kind of figure that out along the way. And I think, you know, where you're in college, that's kind of the key time to kind of find out, like, what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? So kind of figure that out as you do that. And I think even as a young adult, I would say maybe I'm an older adult at this point, but who knows? I still think I'm younger than I am. But in my mind, I think, you know, even as I figured it out, I still am working and developing on who I want to be and where I want to go. So I think that's going to continue to change, like as Elisa mentioned. Number 2, determine what you want to be known for. What do you want to be known for? I always think, because I'm HR and DELL in my world, that I, you know, kind of, I always think about, would my mom or would my grandma be proud of me for, you know, what I'm trying to be known for, what I'm doing? Or I wouldn't say that, if I wouldn't say it around her, would I really be saying that in the public or on social media, that type of thing. And 3, define your audience. You know, who's your audience when you're building your brand. And 4, research your desired industry and follow the experts. You know, you can go online and kind of find out. You can use LinkedIn, find out who's in your industry. You can kind of find some information about like what they do. And then the next one is ask for informational interviews. So informational interviews are, let's say you're interested in doing something similar to what, let's say Elisa does or what Chris does. And you could say like, hey, I'm interested in knowing more about your day-to-day. So like, what do you do? But like, what does your day-to-day look like? What is asking kind of more of the informational interview questions. So you're actually interviewing somebody in the role to kind of get a good idea of what they do for their career. And then 6, embrace that networking. You know, as I mentioned with the pandemic and these unprecedented times, I think it's a little bit difficult to kind of do that face-to-face networking like people used to do in person on campus or whatever that looks like. But there's still opportunities for those of you here on the call today, you know, that you found time to do something and connect with people and start building that networking piece. I think that's kind of the ways we have to start to find things to do. So, you know, embrace the networking, whether that's virtually or attending virtual events or whatever that looks like for you. And then 7, ask for recommendations. I think this goes a long way. You know, if you're building your brand and you're saying like, hey, this is my brand, these are my thoughts, this is who I am. It's nice to have somebody recommend you and say like, yep, this is, you know, my interactions with Sarah were right on key with what she's saying her personal brand is. So asking for those recommendations is like an endorsement of saying like, yep, this is my personal brand. So if you think about any type of brand out there, I don't know, like Nike, for instance, or Cheerios, you know, there's a certain kind of recommendations that come along with them, or kind of personas that come along with that. So I think, you know, recommendations are good because they help kind of just solidify your own personal brand. And the last thing is grow your online presence. And that's kind of what Elise is going to go over today and share a little bit about that. So go to the next one. So here is the next slide. How many are you familiar, or how many of you are familiar with the term elevator pitch? And you don't have to answer. The idea is really fairly simple. It just, imagine you're stepping into an elevator that is in a 40-story high building, and you're going all the way to the top. You have approximately 90 seconds in the elevator with one other person, and they ask you about yourself. What are you doing visiting the building today? You know, some kind of small talk might happen, but if somebody is giving you an opportunity to tell them, you know, who you are, here's kind of a good way to do it. So it's harder than it sounds, because I think it's hard for people to start talking about people and think about your whole life story. But if you want to think of it a way as like Twitter, like you only have so many characters that you can share, you know, who your quick elevator pitch. So think about it as a 15 to 30 seconds long. Here's a way as a college student that you can look at this. You can give a quick introduction, you know, your name, your college, where you graduated from, your degree, you know, what are you seeking? Are you in an internship? Your career goals, you know, are you part of an internship that was supporting those career goals? What kind of experience do you have? And then what can you offer and skills, and how would you benefit an organization? And you can use this for interviews or any other professional gatherings. Practicing your elevator pitch will help you as you do quick introductions online, as you go to events like Chamber of Commerce events or things on campus, whatever that looks like for you. I think you'll definitely, one of the most common questions in interviews is, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I think if you can prepare your elevator pitch, it's just really kind of a commercial to get people to want to know more about you. Who are you? You know, what do you bring to the table? And just kind of seeking like, oh, I'm interested in learning more about this person. So that's your elevator pitch. I think if you can look at these notes, kind of write these out. I mean, we don't have time today, but, you know, go through them and kind of put that out and write your own, so that when you get asked that question, you know, tell me a little about yourself, you'll be prepared for that.
So if I could just
All right,
add
so I know
on
that was a
to
lot of
that.
information. Yeah, definitely.
So oftentimes, well, the more you have your elevator pitch down and memorized, and, you know, in a very smooth way, the easier it is to really talk about it. And it goes back to what you said, Sarah. It's not about who you know, but who knows you. Oftentimes, this is a way for people to offer you jobs without you actually seeking for them. So here, one of the parts are career goals. So what are you seeking for your career goals? The better you communicate those, the person who you're talking to maybe one day has a career opportunity, and then they say, you know what, I actually spoke to Sarah, who mentioned those were her career goals as well. She might be a good fit for this role. So it really does go a long way. And again, it's really just making sure you understand what your goals are, what your career, where you want to see your career in, that will go a long way. Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Sorry.
No, I think that's good. Thank you. All right, so I know that was a lot of information I just kind of went over before we kind of get into the LinkedIn part, but do you want to move on to any Q&A? Does anybody have any questions for me on any of that, or for Lisa on any of the stuff we just covered? Or any thoughts on it before we move on? Okay.
All right. Okay, yeah, so we covered quite a bit. We definitely wanted to emphasize more on the build your brand, because as Sarah mentioned, the more you know about your personal brand, who you are, your values, the better you will be at communicating those. So for this portion of the presentation, we'll be going over LinkedIn. The reason why we chose LinkedIn is because it is a somewhat underrated social media platform where there are so many benefits right at your fingertips. So this is a way to network. We spoke about the importance of networking, getting to know others within your industry or the industry that you are looking into working in. If you go on LinkedIn, you can follow DELL Technologies, and DELL is very good at posting things about the company itself, their brand, their values, what the future looks like for the company. So it's always a really good idea to follow the companies that you are interested in. And who knows, maybe through that you'll change your mind like Sarah did. Sarah changed her major. Or you can just learn more, and it solidifies that yes, you are right where you need to be. So a lot of great advantages. Okay, so during this presentation, we'll go over 3 different stages. We have the build stage, the furnish, and the invite. So we're going to think a bit about this as if it were building a home and what components are needed to make sure that you have a great home. All right, so moving on to the build stage. So here we have a blank LinkedIn example. We put in Sarah's name here, but that's not Sarah's, so don't worry about that. But we have a poorly created LinkedIn profile where there is no picture. You can see here that the person has 0 connections. The headline, which is at the top right below the name, me at DELL. So we know that Sarah is a subject matter expert at DELL, but what is she a subject matter expert of? So definitely not enough information there. On the bottom, profile strength. So LinkedIn has this build where it'll tell you if you are at the beginner stage like this one or at the rock star stage. So during this presentation, we'll show you how to get to the rock star stage and just some advice there. Also, towards the bottom, we see that there is truly no experience listed on there. So again, this is a place for you to add your resume. You can add your volunteer work. So again, a really great way to really sell your skills and your knowledge. All right. So in the next portion, we'll go over some quick do's and don'ts. So don'ts for profile pictures. So like we saw before, no profile picture, definitely not a good way to know who you're connecting with. Next, we have an obscure photo, so where the face isn't really visible. Then we have a crop photo. So it's a really nice picture of her graduating with her parents. But then again, it's cropped, so it doesn't look very professional. I would even say it's okay to keep, but just don't crop the people around you. And then last, the good old selfie. It's always great to invest on a professional headshot. With that, even if you're not able to, I would say that a selfie is acceptable, but just make sure that it's professional and that it really does invite people to get to know you. All right, so let's go over some do's. So in this example, we see that this person has a genuine smile. It's also a high resolution photo. On this one, this person is showing confidence and approachability. The next one has natural light, fits in the frame, and it's business casual. And this last one is outside, and their body language is very welcoming, and the face is visible as well. So some really great examples here. I know that the Dream Center just did theirs. Chris, you guys, I've seen yours, and yeah, those are really great pictures.
So quick plug about that. For those of you who are interested in seeing good headshots or good profile photos, please visit our website, dream.utah.edu, and check out the staff bios. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Awesome. Next, we'll go over our headlines, so some quick don'ts. Here we see that this person is a college student and they are quoting Katy Perry, because I'm a champion and you're gonna hear me roar. So definitely not adding any value to that person. Then we have Unethical Joe, where they do give a little bit more information on what they do, helps small business owners save truckloads of cash on their tax return. So although it is explaining what they do, it's definitely not something that you want to broadcast. Then we have the plain Jane salesperson at Dell, which it's okay. I've seen a lot of people add their title at work, but then again, it's not truly expanding on what is it that they do and what drives them. All right, so looking at some do's, I put myself as an example here. So Elisa De Silva, Utah lead for Latino Connection Resource Group, working towards educating others on the importance of diversity and inclusion. So it adds what I do, why I do it, and what impact do I want to have. Next, we have Scott Butler. He's an executive recruiter specializing in online media. Again, here it uses the job title, but then it also expands on exactly what they do. And last, we have college student, incoming finance, MBA intern at Dell. So here, future-oriented and shares excitement, which invites future colleagues to network. All right, perfect. So headline, it's a really good chance for you to really sell yourself. In all honesty, no one really has too much time to go through someone's profile as they're accepting invites. So the quicker you can catch their attention, the better. All right, perfect. Moving forward, we'll go over the summary. So in this example, you see that they have added some bullet points. And then here, it's also not very descriptive. So a lot of words here, but none of them are really giving me a good explanation on who this person is. Down below, we have an example of someone that left their summary section blank. So again, this is a great way to sell yourself. So, just make sure that you're always adding a quick summary. It doesn't have to be long, but just add something that will let the person know who you are, what your brand is. All right, so here we have an example. So here we see that in the first sentence, this person is explaining who they are. So they are saying that they are a dynamic, self-driven, and results-oriented student at Michigan State University. Then it goes on to explaining what they are studying. So again, very informational. It looks like they're using some keywords, self-driven, results-oriented. So if I were a recruiter looking at LinkedIn profiles, then I would catch onto these keywords very quickly. And then I would say, yep, that's the person that I want to reach out to. Next, they're explaining on how they are different. So here they say that through their experiences, they've learned the importance of time management, collaboration, and how to effectively work under pressure. So again, using keywords and really explaining what it is that they are bringing to the table if they were to be hired on. Lastly, they add what they're passionate about. So that here they say that in their spare time, they're an active volunteer in the community at a local animal and homeless shelter. So again, this is your brand. So this is a way for them to truly showcase what is it that matters to them. And then in this example, we can see that volunteering in the community is important to them. All right, perfect. Moving on, we'll go over experience. So like I mentioned in the first few slides, we saw that the poorly created slide didn't have much information. So here we can see that this person is an intern at Dell, but again, no information as to what is it that they are doing at Dell. The next one is consultant, again, very vague. And then the last one is that they're an undergraduate teaching assistant. So again, not enough information here. All right, so here we see that this person really took some time to put together their experience. So here we see that they're adding 2 different positions at Dell. So they've been with Dell for 1 year and 3 months. Global compensation and benefits, HR, generalist, advisor, human resources rotation. Then they go on to briefly explaining what is it that they did. Next, employment brand with HR generalist advisor. So it's always important to list different positions you've had at a single company. So even if you haven't moved around different companies, don't forget to add all of the experience that you've gained as you're there. So for example, like I mentioned in the beginning, I started in customer service. From there, I moved on to managing, and now I'm a technology service manager. So I would add all those 3 positions into my experience because they are relevant to the experience that I've had with Dell. All right. Perfect. So we will shift to skills and endorsements. So we thought that it would be very beneficial if we went ahead and listed some of the most needed skills in 2020. So what are recruiters looking for? So on the left side, we have top 5 soft skills: creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, emotional intelligence. So from surveys, we know that this is what companies are looking for. And people that have these skills listed on their LinkedIn profile are more likely to be offered a position. Next, right next to that, we have the top 10 hard skills. We have blockchain, we have cloud computing, which is what I do. We have analytical reasoning, artificial intelligence, AI. It's very, very important, especially right now with COVID. A lot of companies are utilizing AI to make sure that they are being that they are capable of continuing their business through remote work. We have UX design, business analysis, affiliate marketing, sales, scientific computing, video production. So again, all of these are things that recruiters are actively using to hire people off of LinkedIn. So do take time to list all of the skills, soft skills, hard skills, and then also do take time to endorse others' skills. So if you haven't done that on LinkedIn yet, what you do is you go to someone else's profile, and for example, I have management as one of my skills. My connections have gone into my profile and they have said, yep, we confirm that yes, she has management skills. So that is endorsing. So as you endorse, people are more likely to go onto your profile and endorse your skills as well. So the more endorsements you have, the better. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to the alumni tool, which I'll just let Sarah talk about a little bit more since it's something that she's actively using right now.
Perfect, thanks. So I'm going to talk about the alumni tool and how you can use this within your LinkedIn profile. It's actually really cool. So you can currently use it as a student at the University of Utah. So basically what you do is you can search your alumni network and filter by location, function, company, and more. And so up here in the upper left-hand corner, it's showing Dell. And so this is saying like, here are the connections with Dell, people that I might be connected with, that I can go through and add them, you know, to make those connections. You can do that, like I said, with the University of Utah. You can put that in as one, and there'll be tons of people, right? But you can, how it does it, it's based off of your current connections. So let's say you have somebody on there, like University of Utah's with me. I'm connected to there because I'm an alumni, you know, so let's say you added me or you added Chris, like now who I know and who Chris knows, you can start to see kind of network of people that maybe you know that you would want to be connected with. And so it's just really an opportunity to leverage the tool that that's in this system by finding those connections. Sometimes I find that like, oh, I know that person really well, but I haven't talked to them in years, and we have a common interest or connection, so I may connect with them. So it's a really good opportunity to just look at that. You can do that by company again, function, location where you're at. You could say Utah, but I think as students right now, you guys can definitely start utilizing it with your current connections by putting University of Utah in there. So thought I would share that. And then I believe you're going to go over the next part, right, Lisa?
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. So again, also you can add a volunteer experience here as part of your building phase. So we can see that this person has volunteered for the American Red Cross, Ronald McDonald, Austin Pets Alive. So it's not just about what you do at work, but what you do outside of work. Sarah, I think you mentioned this, that your personal and your work brand should truly merge where possible. On top of that, you can also include your accomplishments. So here we see certifications, courses, projects, honors, and awards. So you could truly add as much as you want or as little as you want on your LinkedIn profile. All right. So we are done with our building phase. So we have a really great structure. Our home is built. So now that our home is up, we're going to go ahead and start adding furniture. So we're going to add some decorations to make our home nice and pretty. So how do you do that for LinkedIn? So your connections. Send requests with context. So we spoke about the importance of networking and connecting with other people. The thing with LinkedIn is that it's really easy to just connect with people and or request to connect with them, and then after that you lose that connection. So you don't maintain your relationship with that person. So if you do send requests, introduce yourself. Why would you like to get to know them? So it's a really great way to just kind of go a little further than that simple friend request. Be selective. You don't have to follow everyone, and not everyone has to follow you. Again, you're wanting to expand on your brand. So just be selective on who you send requests to and who you accept. And then lastly, do your research. Just make sure that you know what company you're wanting to follow. Or like I said, a lot of companies do publish a lot of their information. So that's also a really great way to just do more research on that company or person. Next, we have networking. So again, networking, they mentioned doing your research. Again, like I mentioned, it's important to follow people with a purpose. Find commonality and build. Like, comment, share status updates. Utilize the messaging function. Be friendly and have fun. So LinkedIn is very, very similar to Facebook. And I would even say that this year I've noticed that LinkedIn has become a little bit more towards the relaxed side, where people are not just only sharing things about their work, but they're sharing things that are a little bit more personal to them, which has been very interesting. And then lastly, we have recommendations, requests from former leaders and colleagues, and then it says be patient. So recommendations, for example, one of my old bosses asked me to write one for them, and it's really just you telling everyone else, why is it that this person is so great? So be descriptive when giving recommendations, and then when asking for recommendations, just be patient. Don't push too much for that. People will just do it when they can. But it's always really great to have on your LinkedIn if possible. All right. Next, we'll go over groups. So LinkedIn just included the groups function here. So again, whatever company you're interested in, go ahead and follow them, or whatever, maybe volunteer work, people that have volunteered in the same charity as you, have created groups. So again, this is just a way for you to continue to expand on your connections and network with others. All right, so here we have some tips on how to engage. So here it says, ask questions. Engage in conversation that you are knowledgeable and passionate about. Solve problems. Look for people asking for help. And as someone looking for a job, leverage your network and share resources. So oftentimes, I like to post job offerings on my LinkedIn. Back when I was a manager, whenever I needed someone, I would always post it on my LinkedIn. So keep an eye for that. It's also a really great opportunity for you to see what is out there, and then share. Compliment. Spread positivity and tell someone what you learned from their post, or if you simply enjoyed it. Own conversations. If you engage, check back in through your notifications tab to see if there's a response. So again, just following through through any comments that you might have posted. All right, perfect. So we have our house built. We have our pretty furniture. Now it's time to invite people over to your house. So the best way to do this is through your status updates. So just like Facebook, you can utilize this to post ideas. You can use this to expand on your brand. Here asks, what do I post? So share an article, recruit for an open position, spark a conversation through a video or photo, gain influence by leveraging your 3 to 5 different differentiators. Aim for one status update a week. So even one status update a week might be too much for some. I would say just share as you're comfortable. For myself, I always like to share positive thoughts. So sometimes as you're scrolling through social media, maybe you're not having the best of days, or you know, maybe your timeline is full of political stuff. So it's always really great to sometimes change the narrative, and just add some positive stuff through to your feed. Okay. And then here we go over publishing as well. Publishing does take a little bit more time, because you need to just do some you have to customize your work a little bit. So if you're comfortable with publishing, that's a really great way to stay on top of mind as well. I think it was last week I shared something about what our Latino Connection team did. And just through that post, I had 500 plus views. And then after that post, I had a whole bunch of connection requests as well. So again, publishing, posting, it's a really great way to continue to expand on your network. All right, and then here we'll just go over some reasons why to post. Again, stay on top of mind. Build trust and credibility. Again, this is your brand. The more you post, or the more you tell other people who you are, the more open they will be to getting to know you. Minimal time, maximum reach. So again, I mentioned my post from last week. It took me maybe 5 minutes to put together. But after that post, 500 plus views. So again, maximum reach. You get noticed, you gain connections, and you leverage your wide network as well. All right, perfect. So we went through quite a lot of information here. So I'll pause just in case anyone has any questions or just would like to comment on what we just reviewed. All right, perfect. So I think we're fine. like I said, feel free to reach out to Sarah or I. This is something that we're very passionate about. We're looking at sharing this presentation with other groups within our industry as well, but really some great information. So if you have any questions, just reach out to us. We would be more than happy to help you out as you're starting your careers.
Yeah, to both of you, Elisa and Sarah, thank you very much for all the information. I know that I definitely learned a couple of things I didn't know before. I'm not an expert at LinkedIn, so definitely I would be revisiting some of that and adding that in. Especially I like the idea of endorsements. I didn't know that was a thing. I think I would love to go through some folks and tell them that they absolutely are good at, being detail oriented, or they are good at managing multiple tasks, etc. So, and I would like for somebody to say that about me. So,
Yeah.
among a few other things, I definitely learned a lot. So thank you both again very much for that. Thank you to those who joined us today. As said previously, this will be posted on our website as well and be shared via link also. So if you want to revisit it, we'll definitely be doing that. We really appreciate your time, really appreciate your expertise. I'm glad that you're all available afterwards. And yeah, we're excited to continue building a partnership with Dell. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks so much,
Thank you,
Chris, for the
Chris.
opportunity.